Hi, this is Melanie for the Pardesi channel. I'm here to do a review of the Malayalam film EE Ma Yau. Lijo Jose Pellissery's 2017 film Angamali Diaries was my favorite film of the entire year. That film was set in a small town, and every single actor in that movie was a newcomer. This, except for Chemban Vinod Jose, who wrote the script for Angamali Diaries. This film similarly has a lot of newcomers who are local villagers in the town, that this fishing village that the movie is set in. But the main cast, he's brought in some stalwarts of the Malayalam film actors cadre. And one of my favorites, Vinayakan, who was absolutely amazing in Kamati Padam and other films. EE Ma Yau is an abbreviation which the subtitles at my theater in English translated to RIP, rest in peace. It stands for Isho Mariam Yosepi, which is Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, which evidently is a prayer that you would whisper in the ear of the deceased. So it's the equivalent, though, of rest in peace. The entire 2-hour film is set around the funeral of the father Vinayakan, who has been away for a long trip, and he comes back, has a little altercation with one villager, and then comes home and he's drinking with his son. And after his wife harangues him for being gone so long, and then he's drinking with his son and they're enjoying this moment, and Chemban Vinod Jose plays the son, the adult son, and his father starts thinking about his father's funeral and how amazing it was, and he's like, well, I'll never have one like that. And they're drinking, and Chemban's character EC promises him, if you would pass away, I would give you the grandest funeral with a band, with, you know, the bishop, with everybody. So that's the last words that he says, because then something happens and the father dies suddenly. Now, what was amazing to me is that we've seen the small family, we've seen the father walk home through the dark, come to this house, and from all the appearances, it seemed like it was some isolated house. But once the father passes away, all of a sudden, the world explodes, and we see that this was a house very close to all these other houses in the neighborhood, and people from the household start banging doors to say, Vinayakan's dead, he's dead, he's dead. And it was, then everyone just gathers, and the village comes together to mourn with the family, but also, it's, you know, a story of any small villages. Rumors start, people start gossiping. Chemban Vinod's character EC, he's just kind of shell-shocked that because it happened so incredibly suddenly. But now he's the man of the house, and it's under his responsibility to actually arrange for this funeral that he had promised his father, and they have money troubles and everything. His best friend is played by Vinayakan, who is one of my favorite actors in all of Malayalam cinema. He was absolutely amazing in Kamati Padam, where nominally he was not the lead, Dulquer Salmon was, but really it was his story. So, and he was also in Kali. So I've seen him in very negative roles or kind of rogues. And here, he was called Member, so I don't know if he was a politician. If you're from Kerala and you can clarify, because that's the way the subtitles translated what people were calling him. So I don't know if he was some sort of local council member or what exactly his role was in the town. But everyone should have a friend like Vinayakan's character was in this film. The kind of character who just steps in and does for you what needs to be done when you're shell-shocked in the middle of a tragedy, because they're just practical things that you need to do. You need to start notify the clergy, you need to start calling relatives, and there's one line, Vinayakan's calling the dead man's brother, and they're arguing on the phone, and he says, and he gets off the phone, and he's like, he was upset that he didn't get a personal invite to the funeral. This isn't a wedding where you go in person to invite. I mean, it was just, that's what happens. When someone in the family dies, all of these things come out, secrets come out, and bickering, even though it's a sad time and you think everyone should pull together, sometimes people get pulled apart and resentments come to the surface. And so it's this tragic comedy where it's sort of, you're like, okay, someone has died. Am I supposed to be laughing at this part? Because that was pretty funny. And you're kind of off kilter the same way some of the characters are in the movie, because you're not sure, is this for real? Is this serious? Is this comic? Because everything is just crazy. So the first half of the film, all these little moments happen that then get major payoffs in the second half of the film. You're like, okay, that was a little moment. Why was that there? That was a little moment. Why was that there? There was an offhand comment like, well, should we call the people on the island? Well, there's a big payoff to see when people show up at the funeral, and all sorts of secrets come out, and relations and drama. Another thing is that the person playing the wife, Panama, is the character's name, and she's played by Pauly Valsan, who for the Kerala State Film Awards, got an award for supporting actress. Oh my gosh, she was amazing in this film, because the beginning she was like a Herod, and just, you're like, why are you yelling at this man? Well, then you come to find out he'd been gone for a long time, and he was a provider, and she's haranguing him, where have you been? And then once he dies, though, she just starts wailing and wailing. She's no help at all. She's just wailing. But it's wailing with this passive-aggressive commentary on each person that walks in to pay their respects. Oh my gosh. I'm sure I wasn't getting the full meaning and all of the shade that she was throwing on every single person that walked in that house. But she would her lamentations and her wailing over the dead body at the wake, she just would make commentary on every single person that came in. Oh my, she was a riot. She was absolutely a riot. And you were at first you're just like, oh my gosh, this is annoying. Would she just shut up? And you realize that's the same way every other character and every other villager must feel too, because this woman just would not shut up. So everything rests on the shoulders of Chemban Vinod Jose's character, EC. And his friend is trying to help him arrange everything. But rumors start. And the local priest fashions himself as he loves detective stories. Lijo Jose Pellissery really has a thing against priests who think they control an entire village and rule like dictators. And we saw that in Amen, and we see it again here, where a priest just goes out of his way not to be helpful, but to just have to add his own stamp on every situation, and just makes things much, much worse. The second half of the film, we have a deluge of rain that starts, and it just adds to the chaos and the circus atmosphere of everything is happening. And the soundscape was absolutely incredible. You felt like you were in the middle of this village. I just felt like I was right there. Part of it is Lijo Jose Pellissery's camera work, that similar to Anglo-Malay Diaries, you were right there in the middle of the funeral. You were right there in the middle of all the people, and you feel like you could just reach out and touch someone, because you're just so right there with every single big confrontation. But also the soundscape added so much to the film, of sounds of the ocean and how close it was to where the house that was in the village, and just as we walk through the village at the beginning, just amazing sounds all around us. But then when the rain starts, that's when it just really goes up to another level, because it's just this downpour, and how that adds to the tension of the film. Ranganath Ravi actually won an award for the sound design at the Kerala State Film Awards, and justifiably so, because it was an incredible sound experience. This is a taut 2-hour script. It seems a little slow at the very beginning, but it's like a runaway train that just goes until that devastating ending, and you're feeling the tension of EC's character, and you're just all this chaos around you, and one thing after another happening, and then the rain, and so forth, and the pressure builds and builds. So this is not like some Malayalam films can seem too long. I did not feel that at all. This did not just feel like, oh, they dragged this out to make it 3 hours. No, it is a tight 2-hour script. P.F. Mathews wrote the script. It was incredible. It's an absolutely incredible script. It's very much of the place, but there's like 2 characters playing cards in sort of a fishing shack. And we kept going to them periodically through the movie, and I was like, at first I was kind of confused, and then I was like, oh, these are like the Greek chorus, and then there's sort of a surreal ending scene. You're like, oh, that's who these people were supposed to represent. And it was just fascinating. The depths, the symbolism in the film. I mean, it's at one level a simple story, but then it's really an examination of life and death and what is meaningful after you die. Just amazing. There was so much motion to his filmmaking in Thangaraj Diaries. Lijo Jose Pellissery, the opening shot, camera is absolutely stationary for a funeral procession, and it just for the entire credits, and it just goes by, and it's so stately, but the camera never moves. So it's interesting, all the different techniques that he is bringing in that you don't necessarily see in other works, not just in Malayalam cinema, but all of Indian cinema. He is the master. I think I liked Thangaraj Diaries as a film better, but this is a movie that has been staying with me, that I keep thinking about. I wish I could had the opportunity to go see it again. In Chicago, it only played for 2 days, 1 showing a day. I barely realized it was in town and caught it on this Sunday, on the second day that it was in town, so I did not get a chance to go back and see it again. I will be looking forward when it finally does maybe come on streaming services, that I would be able to watch it again, because I just think there's so much there. It's like I said, it's about a funeral, and yet it's crazy, but it has dark comedy to it. There's just so much. I hope I haven't spoiled it too much. I tried to stay away from spoilers, but the title itself tells you what the film is about. It's about a funeral. And just the setup of what happens in the story and the acting in it is absolutely amazing. Like I've already mentioned, Pauly Valsan, who plays the mother. But Chemban Vinod Jose, I've seen him in several films where he has had supporting roles. I've seen him play villains. I've seen him play all different kinds of parts. But this was a tour de force for him as an actor. He is really the center of the entire film. I almost can't think, there's not many moments when he's not on screen, where you're not with him and his reactions to all the insanity that is happening around him. I loved Vinayakan's character in this film. It was so nice to see him playing such a good person. I have a friend like that in my own life, and we have been like that for each other, where when a family member has died on either side, where we've just been there and we've done everything that needs to be done. She's done it for me, and I have done it for her. And it was wonderful to see this friendship that he had with EC, his character had with EC. It's a beautiful thing to see on screen. That was just my takeaway. Just Yeah, there's some dark things in the film, but I love the portrayal of the friendship of EC and Vinayakan's character. I just absolutely loved that part of the script. If you've had a chance to see this film, I would love to hear your comments. I know as an outsider, someone who did not grow up in Kerala, I'm sure there was so much that I didn't catch or that was probably funny to an audience in Kerala, you know, jokes that went over my head. But it is such an amazing film, and I think it's slowly, you know, being released in different theaters, but I wish it had gotten a wider release here in Chicago. It came to a theater which doesn't normally play Malayalam films, and so I'm not even sure if the people, Malu people in the Chicagoland area, even realized to look for it at this theater. So there was almost an empty theater when I went to see it, which is really a shame, because this is a film that everyone should see. It is going to be another classic from Lijo Jose Pellissery. He is amazing. I can't wait to see what he does next. If you enjoyed this film review, please press that like button, share the video, follow us on Twitter at PardesiYT, subscribe to the Pardesi channel, and if you hit the bell, then you get a notification whenever I have a new film review or trailer reaction.